All right, Warren, we're going to get ready to get started on this health edition. Yes. When you get ready to get started, we're going to have a commercial by my son, David, first. You can come and say hi, and then you have to go do virtual learning.
Hey, can I get my glass?
If it's over there, I don't know where it is. All right. We have a fantabulous show scheduled for today. Go in your class. It's time for you to go to class. We are doing health and wellness theme. That's Pastor. You're listening to Pastor Tim Rogers and the fellas. Everybody knows I love my quartet music. And I have theme music, but I want to bring my quartet music in. You know, my mother used to say sometimes the only Jesus people hear is the Jesus you play. So, you know, I always want to introduce whoever I can about my father. And I am just always excited about sharing his goodness because he's done a lot for me. So I'm still here. How about you, Warren? How do you feel about that?
I feel well about that.
Yeah, I'm still here. Warren is still here. We still have work to do. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to IITG Season Sisters Speak. I am your host, Victorianne Russell Walton, and I'm so excited to have my co-host back, Warren Green. Wrong way. Say hello to the people, Warren.
Hey.
So, we are going to talk about rebuilding the body, and we're going to discuss uh, immune therapy and thermal imaging. We're going to talk about everything. But really, what I had calls, we're going to focus on three things this month. So, women's empowerment, and thank you for that. Women's empowerment. We're also going to talk about bodybuilding, and we're going to discuss not bodybuilding, but repairing your body. And we're also going to discuss business and if you should start one, if you shouldn't start one, how do you get your funding, where do you get your funding from? So I'm just excited. So I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm always excited when I have my man Warren on the line, and thank you, Miss Garla, for allowing him to come in and be a part of, because you know a lot of times, no disrespect, Warren, you can say yes all you want to, but if Miss Garla says no, you're not doing it. So and
You
the same,
wish. She wishes.
yeah, and the same in my household. If my husband needs to have a discussion with me, we would certainly have a discussion about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So I love the support we receive from our significant others. Is very important. So I'm Victorianne Russell Walton, two-time breast cancer survivor, chronic lay educator, chronic disease educator, radio talk show host, speaker, wife, mom, Christian, neighbor. I have two fish. One just died. I think that's everything you need to know about me. Warren, tell them all about you.
Well, I work for the Food Safety Inspection Service of the USDA. I spent maybe 20 years or a couple of decades in Washington, inside the cesspool of Washington, D.C., learning the craft and everything else. Maybe about 15, 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I dedicated my skill and knowledge. I'm obviously, what if I work for food safety inspection, I'm a food scientist. And so when I realized that a lot of things were impacted, or illnesses were impacted by diet, I really dived into it. And and after getting all this information, I figured I have to share it. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah, you know, I applaud those who have a calling in their life. They went through something and they said, you know what? Not me, not now, not my community, and not my people. I love people like that because it shows that you have a heart, and it also shows that your passion is really where your love is. When I hear people that say, somebody needs to do something, it's like, why don't you do something? How come you can't do it? It's always amazing to me that people blame everybody else. Why doesn't somebody do something about it? Why doesn't, when you can do something about it? So we're going to applaud those that do great things, and I have some public service announcements, so we'll get started with those. Again, this is IITG Season Sister Speak Talk blog. We're excited. What we do is we talk about everything and we talk about everyone and we try to give you what you need to be successful in your field. And we also try to give you what you need to be whole and be the healthiest you that you can be. We're not bashing anyone. I always say a fat person knows they're fat. A person with diabetes knows they have diabetes. A person with hypertension knows they have hypertension. This is the key. What are you going to do about it? They already know. You can do this all day long, but until they're ready to receive it and make a difference in their life, you've just wasted 20 minutes of your air breath time in life. So you have to meet people where they are. Fussing and yelling is not going to do it. I'm sorry, it's not. So without further ado, I want to do my public service announcements, and then we're going to hop into a hot topic, which is rebuilding your body. We want to shout out Connie Russell. She has a 60-minute snackable learning coming up, managing up live virtual workshop. Having a good relationship with your boss can often be key achieving a happy work life and a successful career. Contact CLRG 844-538-2574. And I've tagged this. Let me hold it the right way because I never do. I've tagged this on my Facebook and in my social media. But if you need to have a better relationship with your boss and your employees and employers, this is definitely the class for you. Again, that number is 844-538-2574. So reach out to Connie Russell today, excuse me. Also, we have our health summit, IITG Wellness virtual classes on Saturdays, 11 to 12:30. It will be this Saturday and the 13th, and then again 11:20. Saturday, the 20th, excuse me, will be our last day. And then we have graduation, and we start again at the end of May. So we discuss diabetes, health, chronic disease, weight management, de-stress, and anxiety. All of the chronic diseases and all of the issues that you may have going through COVID and before COVID. People were sick before COVID. They're sicker now because they're not going to the doctors. Matter of fact, I read an article in the magazine Cure that stated people of color numbers for cancer have tripled. And it's like, how did it triple? Well, one, we're not going to the doctor. Two, we're not talking to the doctor. And three, we weren't going before. We're not going now. So we need to do something to fight these numbers. And I'm willing to put my gloves on and start knocking people out in the name of cancer. And Warren has his opinion on what's going on as well. But we're going to dive into it. When I first met Warren a few years back, and I was excited about reading his article, which he's an excellent writer, he spoke about thermal imaging when it comes to fighting cancer. Warren, can you tell us about that? Because I don't think people really understand what that is, how it can help, and how non-invasive it is. So can we talk about that for a minute?
Well, it's part of the imaging process, and thermal means they apply heat. And so they're looking at that, and they have, they're doing studies and trials on it now because they have to do studies and trials. Let me talk about the system, how the system works. Everything that is for every cancer treatment, unless it's the standard of care,
Mm-hmm.
has to be studied with clinical trials and study groups. And what happens is they get, a whole lot of, depending upon how large the trial is, 100 people, 200 people, 500 people, and they do a trial, and then they'll see how this affects. If you look at any medication you have, you'll see side effects. Well, all of those side effects
Mm-hmm.
came from a clinical trial or a study, and everything. That's why you'll see things like diarrhea and constipation and drowsiness and don't drive. All of these things and everything when they fast track a medication, everything about they have to list all of the side effects that
Mm-hmm.
any of the study people have found, and that's how that works. Thermal imaging is just thermal. They start using heat and stuff to kill the cancer cells. I don't know too much. I've looked in it a little bit. I haven't seen any late studies of it. When immunotherapy came out, everybody jumped to that because
Yeah.
that made a lot of
Yeah.
sense. What happened with immunotherapy is that they realized that they can train your immune system to kill the cancer. What happens when you get cancer is that your body doesn't recognize it as alien.
Hmm.
So your immune system, your immune system, your body won't attack it, so it'll just get in. And by the time your body recognizes it, it's probably too late. It's overwhelmed your immune system. Similar to these inoculations that they're giving now. That
Hmm.
now, when with these vaccines, they're actually putting you're putting a foreign body up
Right.
into your into
Hmm.
your arm,
Hmm.
so and that your body, if it's novel, your body doesn't recognize it, so it'll start building antibodies or antigens to tell you, okay, we recognize this, we think it's dangerous, we're gonna contain it here. So now you know. So your body knows. So the next time it encounters this virus or this bacteria or this fungus, it knows what to do. It'll just go and now what happened with this new one here is that your body didn't recognize it. So it got in and started doing its damage quickly. Now to actually some of these strategies for this, like the mRNA and the DNA that with Johnson and Johnson and for Pfizer and Moderna, they had got license for this thing and patents for these things in 1960. So they already knew about the technology. So it
Hmm.
wasn't a big deal to rev it up. That's why you got so many people now producing these vaccines.
Wow. My concern with Johnson and Johnson. Hi Connie. Hi Marvin. Hello everyone on social media. Let me push pause. I'm sorry, Warren. Hello Japan. Hello South Africa. Konnichiwa. Bonjour. Thank you for tuning in to IITG Season Sister Speak. We're excited about what we're talking about today, and it is rebuilding the body. So my concern, and now we're talking about vaccines. So my concern with the vaccine with Johnson and Johnson is known for their baby powder, which now has a class action multi-million-dollar lawsuit, and now you're going to turn around and make a vaccine. This is my concern. In 10 years, are we going to hear for all of those who received a vaccine from Johnson and Johnson in 2021? Would you please call this lawyer's number at the bottom of the screen to be added into the class action lawsuit where you may be compensated? That's my fear. If you did that to baby powder, and that's what you do, to me, this came too quickly, Johnson. It's about the money and not about the people.
Well,
What is your thoughts?
Johnson and Johnson is another strategy. It's not
Mm-hmm.
the same as Pfizer
Mm-hmm.
or Moderna.
Mm-hmm.
Pfizer and Moderna are working off the RNA, not the
Okay.
DNA, the R, which is the messenger of molecules, which sends the message. So that's where how they're attacking the virus. Johnson and Johnson operates off the DNA. So the
Okay.
whole nother thing. So it's not effective. It's not as effective as the Moderna. I have the same concerns with Johnson and Johnson because see, they already knew. These companies already know, like they know that they had lead in plumbing. They
Right.
know
And
they
Flint.
know in
Right.
all of these old cities like Baltimore and New York,
Mm-hmm.
they know that there's lead in the plumbing or lead in the paint. They allowed
Right.
it in the paint.
Right.
So they bet that down the line, 20 or 30 years ago, most of the people that absorbed this thing and would be dead. There wouldn't be a thing. They'd be willing to do they did a cost analysis and said, well, okay, we can make enough money to
Right.
that.
Until
That's my
now and
problem with
then.
companies like Johnson and Johnson.
That's
Period.
right.
So this is as a favor. Of course, they had the president had to get the law to make them do this because they
Mm-hmm.
used one of those war acts to get them working, but I believe they owe this country a lot just because of what they did. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of companies like that. I say the same thing about any of these companies. I try to
Mm.
be careful so I don't get sued. I mean, they sued Oprah for talking about hamburgers. I
Talking
mean, my
about
God,
hamburgers,
and she's
ain't
a
that
billionaire.
something?
and she's
It,
a billionaire. So what will they
exactly.
do? So now, if you think along those lines,
Hmm.
think about how the medical society won't say anything disparaging about the food industry or they know that the dairy industry has a lot to do with a lot of these cancers, particularly the very aggressive women's breast cancer. They
Right.
know that it might be dairy related. They know it. And but yet and still you can't attack the dairy. The government pays. I mean, they make so much money from that. And dairy is such a, they market it everywhere and we have to pay for it, and I say it does not do a body any good.
We've talked about dairy, and we know it does not. It does not help our bodies, because think about it: those babies who have eczema, who have asthma, who have stomach issues, we know all of those issues are in line with your gut. Okay, babies can't drink the milk and they're throwing it up. They don't want it. Their body is telling you
Well, why should
they
they
don't
want
need
it?
it.
Why should they want another animal's mammary juice?
Yeah. We don't
Does
really think
anybody
about
that
we
drinks
don't think
milk?
about it that way. But Warren, I mean, where does almond milk come from? Who's milking the almonds?
Well,
I
that's
have a lot of
that.
questions.
Well, they have a problem. I mean, the dairy industry has a problem with them calling it milk
Right,
because it's made from plants. It's
right.
a plant
It's
based
a plant
material.
base.
So they call it milk. That's touchy. Maybe it shouldn't be called milk or oat milk. Maybe it's not milk. I don't know how dairy gets the pattern on
Hmm.
what could be called milk. I don't know, but they do, and they argue that it's theirs. But it's not, because obviously there's all kind of milks on the market. So
Right. Oh my gosh, yes. There's oatmeal milk. There's almond milk. There's
yeah,
buttermilk. There's, there, everything is now plant based. I even saw vegan plant based oxtails. Now explain that to me. How can an oxtail be vegan plant based? It's an
I don't know.
oxtail,
I don't know how they
right?
can.
It's an
It's a
oxtail.
well, it's I mean, when you think about it, when an animal eats a eats a plant, we eat the animal for the plant he ate,
Right.
not for
Right.
his particular meat, but for the
Right.
plant he ate.
Not for the protein, for the
Well, the
and we
protein,
need
but the protein is from the plant.
right, it's from the plant. We need to
Yeah.
just keep the
So
plant.
and that's what it is. I don't see how you can have. I don't see how they can have a vegan plant based oxtail. I don't understand that.
When I
But
saw it, it blew my mind.
who?
Everything now is plant based. You have the
Well,
wonderful hamburgers. It's like if it's a one, you
and
can't call it a hamburger if it's plant based, right?
well, no, that's a gap, and that's really it's a gap issue because they're gonna have lab cultured meat. It's in the pipeline now, and that's gonna be very soon.
I
I
saw
think that,
that. I
huh?
saw that with KFC. They are
Yeah,
now taking the cells and growing the meat. So the
right.
meat now, the chicken now that will be at KFC is not real chicken. It is from the cells of
Well, it's
chicken
real
that's
chicken.
growing. Well, it's
It's
cells that they're growing in a lab. It's not like
well,
Diana
yeah, but
who went out and killed the chickens in the backyard. That is not the same.
of course, but it's the cell because we all are cells, so they
Right.
grow from
So
cells.
Warren, is
We
it
all grow
because
from
we're
cells.
running out of food? What's going on?
Well, we're running out of space. What they think now is, in order to raise a cow, for instance, you need acres of land. You need everything. You need all this land.
Hmm.
You're soiling the whole environment.
Hmm.
Because so now they feel, well, we can make this in a we have these big, and now it's getting into big manufacturers. Some of the foreign countries are already doing it, like Singapore and stuff. They're already doing it. They're growing stuff in the lab and putting it out there, and you can't tell. Well, there's no way you can tell the difference
Right.
between a cultured meat and you know meat that
Right.
was slaughtered by an animal. There's no way you can tell the difference because it's the same cell structure, except that the animal that you're eating probably has more medicines or more medications than you have,
Hmm.
because this animal, it's either caged or standing out in the cold all day and all night. It's just they all of them have antibiotics, all of them have everything. So they want to get away from that, and that's
Right.
exactly right. Our
So
culture
Our cultures
got
and
away from. See, our culture, when you look at our culture, and I include like Africa, the whole
mm-hmm,
continent,
mm-hmm,
and look at their, and if you look at their infection rate, like for COVID,
mm-hmm.
very little COVID. I mean, very little
Yeah,
COVID. They have less
yeah,
COVID in those 43 sub-Saharan countries, and
yeah,
and South Africa has a lot of COVID. But in the sub-Saharan, and considering even South Africa, they have had less deaths than New York.
yeah. Yeah, I
Just
read the number 24. Jamaica, Barbados, and all of those islands only have 24, and it's like,
Yeah.
how in the
So
world?
we know that it's what they're consuming. We
Right.
know that in sub-Saharan Africa they don't depend so heavily on cattle and on cattle and cows and
Yeah,
bovines, and they don't they
yeah.
don't depend upon that
No,
for
no,
their
they're
for
all,
their
they believe what
subsistence.
comes from the
They
earth.
do a lot of plant-based in
They
Africa.
do. They do.
They do a lot of different kind of farming, so they don't have pesticides and everything else. So their immune systems are stronger.
Right. So, speaking of immune systems, this is a good segue to jump into one of the topics we're going to talk about today, and that's rebuilding the body after COVID. Now, we talk about a lot about the immune system. We talk a lot about how to rebuild it. I know that people have jumped on CMOS, like CMOS is the latest and greatest, but CMOS has been around forever. We've talked about CMOS before it was hot. Shout out to Lauren Green because we knew. But there are other things that we can do to build our body while we're waiting to go back outside. And as we understand now, there's so many germs and viruses our bodies will be fighting when we go back to whatever the new normal will be. So now we have to rebuild our bodies. Warren, how do we start to prepare our systems to go back out into the virus world?
Okay, I have for the last few months we've been talking about systems of eating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very partial to the Mediterranean diet. Most of us do that anyway, but it's a system of eating. Period. And it's primarily plant based, but it has it. You can modify it to include red meat. You can have some dairy, some everything else. But it's a Mediterranean diet, and if you get an opportunity, Google it, take a look at it, see how it fits, and most people
Mm-hmm.
will find that they've already doing most of this.
Yeah.
After that, we also talked about intermittent fasting. And I understand the theory of that, and it makes a lot of sense. If you're
Mm-hmm.
always putting something in your body, every time you ingest something, your body starts making chemicals and producing enzymes and hormones to break it down. If you're eating all day, your body's doing that all day.
Right.
That's not a good idea. You ought to give it like you reboot your computer and your phone and so forth and so on. Every once in a while, you might want to reboot your body, optimize that. So what I do and what my wife and I have started doing now is we only eat within an 8 hour window.
Mm-hmm.
We have, and the rest of it is and which allows for a 16-hour fast. We start eating at 12 and finish eating at 8 p.m., and then after that, that's it until the next day. And that could be modified for, like, say, Vicky, you have a young boy who might have to eat a little earlier, or you
Mm-hmm.
can start that 8 hours earlier. That
Oh,
8 hours could start at 8 o'clock in the morning and go to 4. Well, you don't want to eat after 4 anyway if you're going to do that. So you're going to give your body a 12-hour rest.
yeah.
Maybe drink. I like to say that might be time to have some smoothies or drink a lot of fluids to get your vitamin C and get your antioxidants in you and so forth and so on. That's the perfect time. And now, to connect the dots with that, I think the most important thing that you can put in your body is fiber. I looked at I was eating an English muffin this morning. I looked at the
Mm-hmm.
fiber here. This is uh Thomas's, and it
Uh-huh.
has 28 grams of fiber.
Yeah.
That's incredible amount of fiber. And
Wow.
fiber, you need fiber. In fact, an adult male should have 30 grams of fiber a day. 50% of this country doesn't do that. 50% of the
Wow.
diets don't do that. And if you don't get that 50%, you can rest assured that down the line you're going to have arthritis, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have cardiovascular
Mm-hmm.
problems, you're probably going to have cancer and all of that because you got rotting meat, dairy,
Well,
rotten meat, or
Warren.
you got
Yeah.
it in your body for
Yeah.
72 hours at
Right.
98 degrees,
Yeah.
and it was already decomposing when you put it in.
Thanks,
That's the
Warren.
problem. So
Thanks,
now
Warren.
I'm saying that if you get the fiber, you try to get this thing through a little quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Fat, now particularly cholesterol. The cholesterols I have in mind are low density lipids because I think that's the problem. I had a conversation with my doctor while I was up in Baltimore at Hopkins the other day, and we kind of disagreed. But nevertheless, it's all subjective. I but she thinks that, well, that it's not conclusive. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they haven't did studies on it because they're not going to do studies on it. But
Right.
low density lipids is what happens when you consume saturated fats. Well, where the fat saturated? Well, from frying, because when you fry a fat, you break down. It breaks
Yeah.
all the way down. Just like if you when you drive a car hard, it loses its viscosity. You got
Right.
to do oil changes. Well, the same thing happens in your body. So now you got these low density lipids that your body needs, but then again, the high density lipids takes out the low density. That's his job, is to take it out, deliver it to the liver for the liver to remove it from the body.
Mm-hmm.
Your body doesn't make enough high density lipids, really, and we eat too many low density lipids.
Arthritis.
So, like I said, the Mediterranean diet is a great diet and a vegan diet because it concentrates on things like olive oil and everything else. So if you
Mm-hmm.
get that in there, you're getting a high mono or polysaturated, unsaturated lipid,
Mm-hmm.
unsaturated. That's the key. So now, what does fiber do? Well, fiber, unsaturated lipids or LDLs are attracted to this gel that your fiber makes, so you get it anyways. Metamucil's advertisement says just that, and that's what they're talking about. And I think it's a great. And I haven't. That's psyllium husks, and they say, and that the USDA says that's the best kind of fiber that you could get. Like you mentioned, sea moss or carrageenan. Well,
Mm-hmm.
carrageenan is not a healthy drug, but sea moss is made from that.
Mm-hmm.
So you take your chances with that.
Okay.
But sea
And
moss is made from. I wouldn't personally. I think that psyllium husk is the best kind of fiber you can get, and it's the least expensive. You can go to CVS and maybe get 32 doses for $10. It's wonderful. You'll never be
and repeat what
constipated.
it is, silly and husk.
Psyllium husk. PSY. Psyllium husk.
Okay.
It's a
Never.
wonderful. And Metamucil. That is what Metamucil is made of. But the
Okay.
brand, if you want to buy a brand, that's okay and spend the extra money. I think that you could go to Walmart or CVS and get their brand. It's substantially cheaper. It's the exact same formula.
Well, Warren, this is the part everybody has questions for you. So we're going to hop right in. And again, you're listening to IITG Season Sister Speak. I am your host, Victorianne Russell Walton, and I have my co host with me who knows everything, Warren Green. I let him talk because he knows what he's talking about. And he's going to help somebody somewhere with the situation. So I see the questions. Hello, everyone on social media, everyone tuning in. And those who are sharing, for those who are listening later on, you can always reach out to Warren. He's on Facebook, Warren Green. If you can't find him, just reach out to me, inbox me, and I'll make sure you get his information. Warren is definitely a blessing in my life when it comes to so much wealth of information. And a lot of times we don't. A lot of times we don't listen to those that have been there and done that. We push our seniors and seasoned ones away. I don't know who that is calling me during my talk blog, but I know you're watching, so stop calling. And if you have a question, because I know that's what it is, Warren, they're trying to cut through and ask you questions by calling me at home. No, 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 no. But Warren is one of those people who definitely has the backing and knows what he's talking about, and that is the key. When you surround yourself with those that are smarter than you, you'll never go wrong. My mother used to always say, if you're the sharpest one in the drawer, you have a dull drawer. So I always want to make sure that I surround myself with those who know a lot more than me. And that is what God, that was my request to God, and He's blessed me. And now I got my man Warren and his family, that I can always pick up the phone and say, Warren, this is going on. What's wrong with me? But and I thank you for that. We're going to do quick shout outs because, Warren, if you can believe it or not, we are in the middle of our talk blog, IITG Season Sisters Speak. The businesses we're shouting out today is the Stubbs Show, Working Woman's Wednesday. You can always reach her at 202-883-9934. She's also the director and owner of Leap of Faith, but she shout outs women. And yes, I promote other women doing positive things. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're not in competition. She's my sister. Speaking of sisters, I also want to shout out Connie Gorham, who is having this event, and it is having a good relationship with your boss. Need a snack, 60 minutes live managing up workshops, bite-sized nuggets of learning content that can quickly be consumed, understood, and shared, just like a snack. For just in time and on the go learners, contact us today, 844-538-2574, to schedule your virtual live workshop for your virtual team. Your employees will thank you for it. And again, that number is 844-538-2573. And to reach Shadonna Stubbs on the Stubbs Show is 202-883-9934. If you're doing something positive in the community, we love to shout you out. Segue to Clinton Burnside at Howard University, who's having a men's event. Why am I mentioning that today on Women's Wellness? Because we women, wives, girlfriends, whatever you are to him, father, sister, whatever, we need to take care of our men. We're nothing without them. So if there's a clinical stop trial going on, or a study going on, or a conversation going on, you need to have your man, your husband, your brother, your nephew, your neighbor, everybody come in. If it's a positive thing and you know it can help your man, we want them to live just as long as we are. And that's how we do it, by sharing information. Shout out to you, Connie. You're doing great things. And you also, Shadonna, and you also, Clinton Burnside over at Howard University. So those are my shout outs. Don't forget IITG virtual wellness class on Saturdays, 11 to 12:30. Warren is our special guest this Saturday. And after that, we're going to talk about hypertension and weight management, not losing weight. These quick, fast, drink the tea, swallow a pill, eat the pellets is not going to last if you don't know how to maintain your weight and learn how to eat. Is it emotional weight that you're picking up? Is it stress weight that you're picking up? They're all different kinds of weights. Do you have fibroids? Women have all different types of issues. So you don't know why you're picking up the weight. So you need to find out the root of the problem before you just go starve yourself on some pills. You lose the weight and you're a size 2 now, and then next summer we see you're back up to a size 24, because not only have you surpassed your weight, you've picked up extra weight, stressing about trying to lose the weight. So, hey, let's make a point and get down to the root of things, learn how to eat healthy, exercise, whatever the exercise is for you, and the weight will come off. Walking is free, and if you do it regularly, the weight will come off. All right, those are my commercials. That's my little side tip. We're going to jump into Warren. So, Warren, we have a lot of questions, and I love it because Warren has the answer. And so do I. Mine is more personal, so don't take your feelings out of the room, and let's get ready. Warren, it says, my husband is always dehydrated. Doesn't matter what I do, more water, but I think he's drinking juice when I'm not around. How can I keep my husband hydrated?
Well, anytime you get thirsty, you're dehydrated. Anytime you ever get thirsty,
I'll be right back.
you're dehydrated.
Keep
You
going.
want to get, I believe that an adult human being should be drinking between a gallon and a gallon and a half of fluids a day. And dehydration dehydration could be deadly. I mean, it's you concentrate all of this stuff in your body because you're dehydrated. All of these acids and chemicals get dehydrated. Your body's alarm system starts going off and causes inflammation and everything else. So what you want to do is at least a gallon to a gallon and a half of water of fluid. I'm not going to say water because I drink an awful lot of tea. I probably drink a
So do
gallon
I.
of tea
So do I.
a day, and I'm to drink water is really a labor for me. But I found that when if I drink my water in the morning before
Mhm.
I do anything is the preferred time, and that's when I can drink water. But water, it's not necessarily water, but you always want to have enough fluids. Period. Just like in your vehicle, you always have to have enough water in it, or you're going to cause a problem. You have to. Dehydration, even top athletes, if they dehydrate, they've had Olympic runners drop dead while they're running because they're
Yeah.
dehydrated. You
Yeah.
can't afford dehydration.
Hmm. Well, and also if you notice that there's juice bottles in the trash can and it's an excessive amount of juice, even though you're drinking the water to flush out the sugars and everything in the juice, it still takes time, Warren, because if you're dehydrated, that affects your nervous system, that affects your brain, that affects your thinking. But if you believe it or not, and it also can cause constant diarrhea.
Oh,
So
it's
it's,
going to affect everything. I mean, it's going
yeah,
to affect
yeah.
everything. You have to you have to be hydrated. It's
Hmm.
gonna your skin, your everything. You're gonna age quicker. You're gonna do a whole lot. I see people, women, you particularly using moisturizer and everything else. The problem is not the moisturizer. The problem is that's got to be internal. Your body, if your skin doesn't get the water that it needs, your body's always gonna say, "Well, let me protect the organs. Let me protect the heart, the liver, and everything else." So it'll take water away from your skin to take there if you're not drinking enough water. So
Yeah.
you'll start aging.
Well, I'm sorry, this light is so bright on me. I'm already cute and I already shine bright like a diamond. So I'm trying to get this bright light out of my eyes. But I appreciate that the fact that you're watching out for your husband, for your man, because oftentimes we just let them do what they need to do, and we're not telling them the truth about what needs to be done for them. So I applaud you. That's a little better. I applaud you for that. I These lights.
And if you're gonna do fiber and increase your fiber, and everybody, I'm suggesting that everybody probably needs to increase it. You have to consume a lot of water. You
Yeah,
have to.
you do.
If you do
You do.
fiber without water,
You got to flush it
that
out.
in itself can
Mhm.
cause you a problem.
Yeah, you got to flush it out. Speaking of flushing it out, let's talk about arthritis. So, arthritis seems to be a trend up here with people who say, my bones, my hands hurt, my knees hurt, my toes hurt, arthritis in the spine, arthritis in my legs. Well, they want to know what caused arthritis and what can we do naturally to help.
Okay, the doctor's gonna tell you they don't know
Mm-hmm.
what causes arthritis,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the very conversation I had with my doctor
Mm-hmm.
the other day. I believe it's low density lipids. I
Okay.
believe it's because your body, your high density lipids, have to take out your HDL, has to remove the low density lipids from your blood.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't make enough high density lipids,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to have more low density, and that becomes sclerosis that hardens around the arteries, and there you have arthritis. That's exactly what I think happens. Now I can't prove that, so I don't like to talk about. I can't prove it. However, they can't disprove it either. So that I believe that's what it is. But that's why I harp on the fiber thing, because the fiber will correct it. I'll give you an example, and this is my own testimony.
Mm-hmm.
I get a bone scan every year. In fact, I'm scheduled for one next week, and I get a bone scan every year because I've had cancer since 2005. It's been active. I've never been in remission.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I have cancer. So they look for the cancer every year with CAT scans and bone scans. When I was first diagnosed and started getting these scans, I had arthritis all down my spine. I was getting neck aches, and it was horrible. I started doing omega 3, which is a fatty acid, which fish oil, and
Right.
I started taking that regularly, twice a day. I have no arthritis now, period, and
Wow.
they don't see it in my scans. Now,
Hmm.
my doctor was telling me, well, it's age. I don't buy the age thing. I think it's all about diet. I don't think it has
Right.
anything to do with age. And in fact, I don't think any disease has anything to do with age. I think that if you are diligent and taking care of yourself, you can live as long as you want. It is about as long as you want. When
I
they
agree.
found this lady from Virginia leaks his cells 100 years ago at Johns Hopkins, they're still using it and sending them all
Exactly.
around the world. So what is
Exactly.
that saying if the cells are living 100 years?
Yeah.
I don't
They
think
are.
that's an anomaly. I think that that's what happens. But I think that you put a time limit on yourself when you don't try to do the things that you have to do to stay healthy. And I'm saying that, and I'm not holding it down. I'm 81 years old, and I had a terrible young. I abused myself totally up until the latter years.
Right.
When I
And
got diagnosed,
I think
I
that's
got
what.
religious. And
Yeah.
religion, that's 2005.
Wow. I think that speaks to most of us. A lot of us growing up and going through didn't eat the best, didn't take care of our bodies, and we pushed our bodies to whatever we thought the limit was for our bodies. But Warren, the blessing about all of this is you can change your situation. Um, I'm working, and you'll meet this young lady Saturday, and I can share her story. Do you know that for the past, I think she said 8 years, all she eats is fast foods? She doesn't cook. That's why her kitchen is so clean. Her and her children only eat fast foods because she said she doesn't have time and she doesn't know how to cook. So if the kids want something to eat, Uber Eats it is. If they're hungry, down the street they go. And I asked her, I said, a salad is just opening up a bag, uh, you know. And she said, no, they're so used to eating like that now. I can't get them to eat healthy. Oh yes, sugar, you can. You can turn that thing around. Yes, you can.
Well,
But all that's all they eat.
food is medicine.
Food
So
is yeah. You eat to live, not live to eat.
right, and food shouldn't be something like that. To me,
She
it's
doesn't.
something.
She doesn't.
It's only fuel for your body. You shouldn't think about it as comfort. If there's other things the matter with you, don't let food be the answer, because food is not the answer for your emotional thing.
Right.
In fact, food and bad foods will cause you emotional harm.
But Warren, what was so amazing to me is when she told me that her son, I think she said her son was 8, and he's only tried a salad once in 8 years. I don't even know how that's
Is she
possible.
healthy?
No,
Yeah.
no.
See, and now when they started telling you the ramifications of poor health,
Hmm.
when when you have a COVID going around, and
Yeah,
you don't even know whether whether your immune system is compromised. I
yeah,
promise you, hers has.
yeah. Yeah. But Warren, it's for different people. We know people. I know females that have never had sodas and don't eat sugar and were Zumba experts that died of stage 4 cancer. And then I meet people that smoke, that are overweight, that have technical difficulties like in life, and they are they're still here. And it's amazing to me the balance of life. One of our social medias went out, but I think you guys are okay. So just um just know that I see you and I see that issue, but it's okay. You're fine. I can still see you, so that means it's just a delay. And again, hello everyone on all our social media. We appreciate you tuning in. So yeah, Warren. So we something just happened on Twitter. I'm not for sure. But so let's talk about cramping. So women say, I my cramps are horrific. What are your suggestions?
Well, cramps are usually come from potassium
Hmm.
and a deficiency of potassium. If you take hypertension medication, and that includes a diuretic. You drink a lot of tea. There's a whole lot of things that are diuretic,
Hmm.
and diuretic is not losing just water. It also takes out potassium, and that usually is the problem. I would look to of course, after you get blood tests from your doctor, look at your potassium levels, and I almost guarantee that you're going to see them a little low. And when they get a little low, that's where Gatorade and all that stuff come in. And
Right.
I like Gatorade. I don't care too much for. I don't like the taste. But you got V8 that's high in potassium. Eat a lot of bananas. Get your potassium up because it's necessary, particularly if you're hypertensive.
Okay. I like that. So oh my gosh, we got so many questions in this quarter till already. So the saying is to clean out your gut, jumpstarts detox, and a road to a healthier life. Is that true? And what's the best way to jumpstart?
Well, yeah, and there we go again with the fiber because that's the best thing to do that takes out all of the toxins.
Hmm.
Like I said, all of this stuff is attracted to this psyllium. It becomes a gel, like
Yeah.
Jello. It's a gel, and when you move your bowels, you can see how it works. But
Right.
that's what it'll do. And as you drink it, and you drink a lot of water with it, it'll gel up. And if you don't drink it right away, it'll gel right in the glass. So
Right.
you got to drink it down. It'll bypass your whole stomach, and it forms a gel, and all the things, all of the fats and stuff that you don't want is going to congel in there and be
Move it
removed.
along.
Yeah.
And move it along, if you will.
I
Awesome.
think it's excellent. And my little brother told me about it. Of course, my little brother's 77 years old. But he was telling me, hey, check this out, and this is it. And he's absolutely right. But we do a lot of research together. So
Awesome. And then I learned from you. So it's an awesome partnership. Chronic diarrhea. What causes it? What do you think causes it? And
same
how
thing.
can you stop it?
Same thing. We're talking
Fiber.
about the diet. You're talking about fixing it. And the
Hmm.
answer to all of this is try the Mediterranean diet. Try it for 30 days. See how you feel.
Okay.
Try the Mediterranean diet. Try intermittent fasting, like eating an 8-hour window. Period. Because when you start snacking and stuff, means that your body's crying out for the nutrients that you're not giving it. That's
Right.
really what cravings are. So
Right.
what you want to do is get have an eating system like
Mhm.
a vegetarian or Mediterranean. Almost everything that you do is probably there, except you including things like olive oil in it, not unsaturated fat in it to make it all work. But when you do that, then and your body squared away, the diarrhea will go away.
Okay. I like that. Um, we've really talked, we talked about that earlier. Um, and let me put this clause in here that what we're telling you is Warren is an expert in his field. I am an expert or an educator when it comes to chronic disease. I've been trained on diabetes, cancer, hypertension, and weight management, and now I'm dealing with stress and COVID. So what we're telling you is to always check with your doctor, but listen to what we have to say. I always tell people there's three types of experts you should listen to in your life. First one is your spiritual doctor. Second one is your physical doctor. And then the third one is the expert that you know is an expert in their field. That's not always a doctor. Sometimes that's someone else that knows a little bit more on the holistic side about a body. I'm always a lot of medicine because with all medicines come what? Side effects. You know, you see it in the commercials. Take this medication if you have a rash. Oh, but the side effects could be death, diarrhea, blood clots, heart attacks, and a rash. And it's like, well, why would you take it if you have a rash? Why would you take it and it's going to give you a rash? Plus, you could die, have a heart attack, have a stroke. So you really want to be careful and mindful. And again, sometimes it can be as simple as cleaning out your gut, getting your body healthier. We know that. Our grandparents who had less than what we have today lived longer and healthier. And we have, and I call it microwave food, that is not as healthy. Who did that? Michael Bazemore did this years ago. He said, get water and water microwave, take the microwave water it for a couple of seconds, water your plant with the microwave water, and then water another plant with regular water and see what happens in a week's time or a month's time. And you know what happened? The microwave water plant died and the regular water plant lived. And to me, it was because you just nuked it. You're nuking that water. I don't care what anybody says. I haven't used a microwave since 2007. We have one in my home because it came with the stove, but we don't use it other than to put my husband's dinner in there when he's coming home late at night. I don't know how you feel about that, Warren, but I've always felt that a microwave is nuking your food and it's killing the nutrition out of your food, which is one of the questions. I have an air fryer. I'm always careful when a holistic specialist tells me how to cook with a microwave. What are your thoughts, Warren?
Well, all of the heat source, any heat source you use probably destroys some nutrients. Any
Mhm.
heat source, any frying, broiling, any heat source. That's what makes the Mediterranean diet. I keep back and back to that because it's a whole lot of plant based and raw foods and not raw but low processed foods and so forth and so on. You always want to do that, but that's because we're talking about a heat source. What a microwave does is it heats up the water molecules in the food, which is
Mhm.
what makes it warm and so forth. It could very well kill some nutrients.
Okay.
So that which and when it does that, you're probably going to have to supplement. And you always should think about supplementing when if you're going to eat like fast foods or you don't have enough time to eat or cook correctly,
Mhm.
you might
Mhm.
want to think about supplement. Always think about supplement.
Okay.
You probably should get your vitamin C, your vitamin B, and all of these other things, that essential nutrients that you need in your body and the minerals you need in your body. So you have to kind of understand your body. And when you think about going to your doctor, and that's cool, and I love my doctors. But my problem is I see my internal medicine doctor at 15 minutes a visit, and I see him maybe 4 times a year. That's an hour.
It's not a lot.
1 hour a
One
year.
hour.
My
Yeah.
oncologist, I see quarterly. I see them 2 hours a year.
Wow.
That's not enough information for me.
It's not.
So and I can't give them enough information for them to get a diagnosis. So they
Right.
use diagnostic tools like a blood test or a scan, and all that's well and good. But none of them go to school to learn what your diet ought to be because they don't
Right.
teach that in medical
No.
school.
No.
So now you got a whole nother ballgame. So all I'm saying is that you have to know your body. So
Mhm.
when you're diagnosed with something, the first thing you have to do is the first thing you have to do is what am I putting in my body, and try to understand your body, because you're going
Mhm.
to have to understand it, and you
Yeah.
can't give your doctor enough information for him to help you. You
You're right.
can't.
You
You
can't.
just can't. His his remedy for it is going to be some sort of medication, because I
Mm,
don't know anybody that goes to the doctor now that don't come away with a prescription.
yeah. A prescription or two or three, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's
Okay.
what it is. So
Yeah.
I'm saying that you need to really understand what's happening to your body. And that's why I say keep a log of what food you eat. So
That's
now you
right.
can look, and maybe the food cause a reaction. Maybe when you ate this food, all of a sudden you had a gout attack, or you
Hmm.
had an arthritic attack. So now you can connect it to something and say,
That's
well,
right.
okay, I'm not gonna use this. I'm not gonna eat. I'm gonna try not eating this food no more and see how I feel.
Yeah.
That's why I say try the Mediterranean diet, try the intermittent fasting, try the fiber. Increase my fiber and so forth and so on. See how you feel in a month. I promise you feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's talk about something that I found shocking with one of our conversations, and that is a bag salad. I was telling Warren I was getting stomach issues after I was eating a bag salad, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then I saw that one of the salads there was a recall, and I couldn't understand how can a salad have a recall on it. And Warren, you broke that thing down to me and told me how I need to get salad pieces, the cucumbers and the lettuce and the spinach, and make my own salads. Explain that to me of how the bag salad is not always a healthier
Well,
choice.
well let me say this. Look how many hands are handling something that you're not gonna cook.
Mm,
Think about
mm.
how many people are handling that food,
Yeah,
and low wage people, by the way. We're talking about people that make less than $7.50 an hour, handling the food that you're not going to cook.
mm,
Just
yeah,
think about that,
yeah.
digest that. Because that's a problem.
It is.
They usually don't have health care, they don't have anything. And if you look at this COVID, you'll see that many of the people in the food industry are infected way more than the general population. So
That's true.
now the people that are handling your food have more infections than anybody else, and you're going to eat something that's not going to be cooked.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that. And that explains a lot. And now
Now, this
I
present now they have things now, that things are happening since I was an inspector, that's happening now that they didn't have then.
right.
Early on in my career, we used to go to foreign countries, but for people that were that were exporting food to the United States, we had to go there to make sure they weren't using human fertilizer, fecal material, in the plants.
What?
That no longer exists here, because now when you got these waste treatment centers, when they collect all of that stuff, they sanitize it. They say they sanitize all of this solid waste, and then they process it, and they use that for fertilizer. Every once in a while, the quality control fails, and then you hear something like, all the lettuce, we have a recall on lettuce, a recall on spinach, a recall on all of this stuff. And you wonder, well, and then they'll say, well, it came from a cow or something. No, it's probably they use it as fertilizer, and the quality control failed. That's usually what
Wow.
happens. Usually what happens.
And it's
So
amazing
it
because
goes for
it's a
2 or 3
bag,
days.
but we think healthy salad. Salads are healthy.
Well,
And you know,
like I
I
said,
know, Warren.
we stopped talking. They no longer even say where it comes from now,
Right.
because we had country of origin labeling that says that if something came from another country, they have to say raised here. That's gone too.
Yes, it
Congress, that's
is.
not the president. Congress did that. So now we don't know where the food is coming from, and most of the food consumed in the United States is imported. We don't grow nothing no more. We don't grow our own food no more.
So
And if
we
I
don't
could
even
say
know
this
what we're
much,
eating.
they got a couple of bills coming through now, and
Hmm.
and what this new administration did is they're going to try to take care of our black farmers. And when you think about it, in World War II, and this, I speak about this. I have an article coming out in the Christian Broadcasting Company's
Hmm.
Voice, the Voice Speaks, I think, Voice
Right.
Connection.
Hmm.
they did my last article on systemic racism, and this was part two of it. And what happened is after World War I, 1 out of 7 farmers in the United States was black. 1 out of 7. Now it's not 1 out of 1,000. So we're not even so they eliminated the black farmer from the whole food chain in the
Mm-hmm.
United States. And what happens now is you got food deserts all over the place in places that are fertile, like Virginia and North Carolina and South Carolina.
Right.
How could you have a food desert in a place where you can grow anything? Doesn't make any
Exactly.
sense. But
It doesn't.
so now they depend upon the supermarkets. It's a crazy world. It's
Yeah.
bad public policy. And I think
Yeah.
they're finally getting around to it. I think Clyburn made a statement about to Lindsey, whatever, Lindsey, the boy in South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, and he
Hmm.
told him that, y'all know what you did to the black farmer. They know.
Yeah. Yeah. Cory Booker is big on trying to get this bill passed too. Cory Booker, shout out to him. He's definitely trying to
Well,
get.
it's got to be supported.
Yeah.
And some of it's in this new $1.9 trillion. Some
Hmm.
of it. So what I'm saying is, you need to patronize the black farmers. Really get behind this and insist that your congressman support it. We have to have it. Period.
Right.
We have to start growing our own food, or we don't
Ex-
have a chance. It's horrible to have to beg another culture to feed us.
You're right, but that's what we're getting back to. But I want everyone to understand because we kind of left it in the middle. We're not saying salads are bad. We're saying make your own salad. Make sure you know
Yes,
where it comes from. Rinse it off.
sure.
Wipe it off. Um,
Well,
whatever you
when
peel
when
it.
you see when you see outbreaks like listeria,
Right.
that's a biggie, a very dangerous pathogen.
Mm-hmm.
What happens with that one is the bag. If everything was good and it got into the bag and somebody's hand touched it. Imagine if somebody went to the bathroom and didn't wash their hands thoroughly
That's
and they
basically
handled your
what it is.
food.
Yeah.
And now imagine that you have 10 or 15 people handling this thing. What's the chances of you not getting sick? I don't know,
Yeah.
because it seems to me that it's a huge problem. So
It
I'm
is.
saying that buy a head of lettuce
Yeah.
or buy a whole chicken and cut it up instead of getting parts where you can't
Yeah.
even see what the rest of the bird look like.
Ew,
And we'll get into
Warren.
that another day. But
Yes.
I'll tell you about what the history of birds were and how they used to do birds and how and why they went to chicken parts. It's crazy.
Well, you know what? I'm Victorian Russell Walton with IITG Season Sister Speak Talk Blog. We have talked about your health and building your body, and I hope you've learned something. I cannot believe our hour is up. We're going to go over a little bit. But, Warren, I want you, and before I do that, I just want to share this because Warren and I share the same passion when it comes to health disparities. And I wrote about this the new cancer cure book. Do you see what it says? It says Black and Latino patients are more likely to receive a diagnosis of and die of cancer more than white patients.
Sure.
This is this month 2020 cure.
Yeah.
2021. I
I'm a
want to tell you
subscriber.
guys who are donating and listening to these campaigns that we're gonna first it was we were gonna end cancer in 2007. Then it was we're gonna end cancer in 2018, and then we're gonna end cancer in 2019. And don't tell me we didn't end cancer because of COVID, because we now have a COVID shot that did not take billions of dollars, and we give billions of dollars to all of these organizations, and there's no shot and no cure for cancer yet. So
Well,
this magazine, Warren, really got my blood boiling when I read that about us people, brown people, and how we're dying again at most alarming numbers.
there got to be disparities because we don't eat right.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't. There's no cure for the cure for cancer. First is preventive, and the prevention is proper foods. The
Hmm.
prevention,
Yeah.
and if you're diagnosed, you have to make an adjustment.
You do.
Because your doctor will usually say, well, okay, we got it all. You can go back to what you were doing. Well, what you were doing was the reason why you got the cancer. Something has to
Exactly.
change. Now,
Hmm.
if they can't tell you what it was that caused the cancer, then you're going to have to try to find it yourself.
Right. Right.
I mean, you don't have any choice but to find it yourself. You can't. You shouldn't leave it to some. They're not. You're not fighting. You're saying, okay, doctor, this salaried guy who goes home after, who could care less about you when he goes home to eat his dinner. He doesn't care. You have to find out what's happening and
Right.
provide, and let your doctor be your support system.
Right.
He comes to provide. He's your consultant. He tells you what you need to do so you can get well. Don't leave it to him
Right.
because he's got his own situations.
He does. And like you said, 15 minutes a year is not going to save your life. But Warren, I
No.
want you to give the people something to chew on until we see them either Saturday or next Thursday. Tell them something before we have to shut down IITG Season Sister Speak.
Well, I think that if you can to look at plant based, look at a plant based diet. If you have a problem at all, try a plant based diet for a month just to see a month. And you can modify if you think, oh, I got to have my meat, try the plant based stuff. They're pretty good. I wouldn't say I'm using plant based butter. They have plant based sausages now.
Yeah,
They got plant based everything. Try that for 30 days. Food is only fuel. Don't try to think of it as
I
something
like
that you got
that.
to, you don't even have to like it. But all you want is the nutrition that you're going to get from it.
I like that. Food is fuel. And we're going to leave it right there. I appreciate you, Warren Green. I love the information you have. I love the fact that you share and you give it to them raw, because that's what's needed right now in order for us to survive. My mother used to say, I don't have time to patty cake with you. This is not a game. And right now, what we're going through of trying to rebuild our bodies and get healthier and whole, it is not a game. We need to do that. So thank you, Warren. Thank you, everyone on social media. Thank you for all that tuned in. Please don't forget about CLRG Managing Up, their 60-minute course. I think I'm showing it the right way. Their 60-minute course. You can reach out to them at 844-538-2573. And also, shout out to the Stub Show, Working Women Wednesday, 202-883-9934. I want to share this with you, everyone. That is not me, but I am featured in Reach. And if you go to page 12, there she is, the Pinky Party. A Pinky Party is a mammogram party that we educate in the name of breast cancer. We get to educated with health experts, and it's a party and a DJ, and we have childcare, and we serve lunch, and we have raffles, and we have a great time in the name of you receiving your mammogram, and I miss it very much. Shout out to America Health Caritas for allowing me to be in this wonderful InReach magazine. I was shocked when I saw it, but your girl looks good on page 12. And thank you, God, for the shout out. And thank you, God, for always allowing those to reach out to me. I will also be on the 20th at Nevin's event. Nevin has Comedy for a Cure. So I will be venturing out for that. I will put that up on my website and social media as well. So we're venturing out, doing some great things over at Garfield Senior Terrace and Ward 1 in Washington, D.C. Lots of classes going on, computer classes, literacy classes, gardening class. Warren, you would love them. They have a rooftop garden, and it's beautiful, and they're doing a lot along with Kyle Williams. So the community is doing well. As a song says, it's good in the hood. I don't know about where you live, but it's good over here. It's a beautiful day outside. I'm going to take this makeup off and these eyelashes off, and I'm going to go out there and run around and blow some bubbles with my son. But Warren, I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you tuning in to IITG. I love when I see low numbers because I know the numbers. I mean, Warren, our last show, we reached 1,300. And I'll take that because somebody in those numbers got what they needed to survive and live. That's what this is all about. This is about surviving and living. So share this with everyone in your group. Always reach out to Warren if you need him. He will come out and speak. Well, he can't come out right now. We're doing everything still virtual, but virtual he will speak. He's a great wealth of information. I am always available. You can reach me at 301 683 8690. And you can always inbox us here on Facebook. Thank you, Twitter. Thank you, LinkedIn. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, my other Facebook page. Thank you, all social medias. They've got me tagged everywhere. So we appreciate you. We went over today because it was great content. And again, I hope you learned something that you did not know before. And Warren, I'm going to leave out on this note. Warren said it perfectly. Food is fuel. It can
That's
break your
all.
body down, it can build your body up. Do you want a cupcake or do you want a salad? Do you want to live 120 years or you want to live 12? It's up to you.
If it doesn't have 4 grams of fiber, it ain't food. It's edible, but it's not food. It's fake food. I call it
Oh,
fake food.
it's fake food. You heard it from the expert. So be well, be whole, be healthy, be nice to each other, and remind yourselves that this too will pass. We're coming out the house soon. They're lifting all the weights. You still need to wear your mask. I don't care where you are, what you're doing. You still need to. Everybody is still germy. Everybody still has the cooties in my eyes. So if you cough around me, you won't have to worry about me grabbing my mask. It'll already be on. Thank you, Warren, for blessing us and being our guest. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and hanging in there. Again, I hope you learned something that you didn't know before. And remember, food is fuel. Take care, everyone. Enjoy this day. Bye. Bye, Warren. Thank you.
Bye.
This was great.